today for our web seminar on the business case for electronic document retrieval. My name is Melissa Clow, and I'll be your host for today's session. We're also joined by Phaneendra, a product manager at Privasoft, and he'll also be jumping in during the presentation to provide some product expertise as we go along.
Good afternoon, everyone.
So I'd like to start by going over some of the logistics for this web seminar. For the ease of the presentation, we have muted the phone lines, but we do encourage you to ask questions during the presentation. So you can ask those questions by using the Q&A tab that you'll find on the toolbar at the top of the screen, and we'll try to get to those throughout the presentation. So if for some reason you have to leave the web seminar early or you wish to revisit it later, it will be archived on our website and it's open to anyone interested. The presentation slides are also available to print by right-clicking on the screen and selecting Print to PDF. So over the next 40 minutes or so, I have the opportunity to share with you the success experienced by our customer, the Ontario Ministry of Environment, in automating the Freedom of Information process using Privasoft's Access Pro suite, and in particular, our Access Pro Workgroup products. So during this time, I want to explain some of the challenges that were faced by the ministry, show how they were able to overcome those challenges using Access Pro Workgroup to ultimately achieve success, and highlight the returns they are realizing with a focused look at the electronic document retrieval process. So before I get started, I just want to take a minute for those participants who may not already know who Privasoft is to explain who we are and what we do. For nearly 20 years, Privasoft has been delivering software and services to automate freedom of information and access to information in the public sector and regulated industries. Privasoft was actually founded by a woman who worked in the access to information field and realized that there had to be a better way to process requests from the manual methods that she was using. So nearly 20 years ago, she pioneered the first commercial solution to automate the process. From there, she formed the company Privasoft, and today, users of the Access Pro suite rely on our software to redact, capture, track, analyze, collaborate, and report on casework related to the information disclosure process. So we are a world leader in access to information and privacy automation with the greatest market coverage worldwide. Our customer base has grown to include the Department of Justice, OIP, Federal Reserve Board, Department of Agriculture in the U.S., Department of National Defense and Citizenship and Immigration in Canada, the Supreme Court of Mexico, and police services in Northern Ireland. So now, turning to today's topic, we'll take a look at the case study and review the challenges that were faced by the Freedom of Information Office at the Ministry of Environment. So just to give you some background information on this customer that we're looking at today, the Ministry of Environment is responsible for ensuring healthy communities, ecological protection, and sustainable development. Like most public entities, the ministry is subject to Freedom of Information legislation, which demands they turn around requests for information from the public within a certain time frame, and in this case, it's 30 days. The ministry gets a lot of requests. In fact, they receive more requests for information than any other ministry in the province, with over 4,900 in 2009. The bulk of their requests come from lawyers and environmental consultants who come to the ministry when they are representing individuals who are looking to buy or sell a piece of property. And these requesters are actually required by regulation to obtain the information in order to finalize on their transactions and can't pass an environmental assessment without it. So this agency really feels the urgency of responding to these requests promptly. Their Freedom of Information team fits into the ministry's Information and Access and Management branch and has about 35 staff. Before their automation initiative, 15 were dedicated to processing Freedom of Information requests. Before Privasoft, responding to requests for information was manual, labor-intensive. For every request received by the Freedom of Information team, they would have to contact each of their 6 regional offices by mail to ask for detailed information and documents. The regions, in turn, had to contact their district offices, so a single request could have had the potential of going through 35 different touch points. So now that we understand the MOE situation and all their touch points a little better, I'd like to put the question out there for you to answer. So we'll take a quick poll. How many record holders, or OPIs, are a part of your process? So is it 1 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 25, and 25 to 50, or is it over 50? Okay, it looks like most people have 1 to 5 or 10 to 25. So I guess a varied range. Okay, I'll give you a few more seconds just to answer that. Okay. Great. So it looks like the winner is 10 to 25 different OPIs or record holders. Thank you. Okay, so the MOE had a ton of record holders to deal with, and this meant lots of paper. If the regional or district offices found any relevant records, they would have to photocopy them, return them to the Freedom of Information team through the mail or courier, so that throughout the whole chain, there was a lot of standing over a photocopier, a lot of mailing, which is, I'm sure a lot of you know, is not only time-consuming, but it also meant lots of extra costs for toner, paper, and postage. Because of all the paper copies, storage was also a big issue. They had to keep reams of paper on file and space for all the photocopied documents. Manually redacting sensitive content was just as labor-intensive. Reviewers would make copies, pore over every page, highlighting what had to be redacted. Clerical staff would then manually sever every highlighted passage before the documents could be photocopied again and sent out to the requester. So it came to a point when they realized that because of the volume of requests they were receiving, they just couldn't keep up with the systems that they had in place. They were unable to consistently meet the 30-day legislated response timeline. And because of the nature of their requests, businesses were demanding even faster turnaround times. Back in 2001, when they received a compliance rating of 13% from the Information Commissioner's Office, they decided to take action. With the knowledge that they couldn't sustain even the low compliance rate they had, the ministry first took a hard look at their business process. By reviewing their approach at that time, they could see bottlenecks. The issues they had were threefold, namely people, process, and technology. With regards to bottleneck associated with people, they decided to rescope their HR capacity and made some business process and HR changes to improve the way they approached the work. They also made a capacity plan from a personnel perspective, which enabled them to deliver improvements, but they still weren't satisfied with the results. So next, they looked at process. Here, nailing down the regional contacts to get recommendations often presented a great obstacle in terms of turning around a request quickly. So when the records were identified and located, obtaining them from original record holders and the regional offices was one of the biggest time consumers. In this case, it was taking an average of 7 to 10 days for record holders to photocopy, provide recommendations, and then courier the material back to the Freedom of Information team. So as you can imagine, a lot of time was spent on collaboration related to document retrieval. They realized there had to be a better way to do this. So now that we